2017 seems to be a point that we both really felt like the quickening is here, that acceleration is here. And so, we had been, doing this work for 20 years. And as that time came, we realized that the work we'd been doing was about ready to go on overdrive. And that people who had awakened before that time were going to have just a little bit easier time with the journey if they had done the work to really embrace change, to embrace that pivot, to embrace the death Matt's talking about, where we're not attached to an identity. And so then we watched in 2017 the rise of identity as the main conversation, because we were all getting ready to completely obliterate identity. Right? So here we are in the obliteration.
Yeah.
And so for those who were so attached to their identity going into that time, it's happening faster, where people had 20, 30, or lifetimes to awaken. That awakening process is happening very rapidly, and it doesn't look like the romantic path of awakening we thought it would be.
Oh, not at all.
Right? It's a very messy process of unwinding the ideas we have of ourselves that aren't true to how the universe and the divine actually experiences us. So that quickening is very real, and it's exhausting because people are having to complete 20, 30 years worth of work internally and externally in a year. Right? It's so accelerated that, we're tired. And we've been doing this work, and we have moments where we go, I just need a breath. And if we could just get an extra hour sleep, that would probably do us well.
But then God brought us 2 puppies and said, no. Hopefully you have puppies now.
It's not time to raise puppies.
So now it's time to raise puppies. But to your point, and I love how you worded this, before 2017, we could do a certain level of accelerated spiritual work. And a lot of people, and this is, a technical answer, not because, with our teachings, we don't see the ego as a negative thing at all. But people would use their spiritual egos to do the inner work. But now we're in accelerated time where the part of people that's used to doing the work is what's being unraveled. Mm-hmm. And because a lot of people would do inner work, but use a lot of the work to either soothe their ego or to cope with their external reality, and they're finding themselves living in a reality where it feels like there's no way to be soothed or no way to cope with life. So it's like we've been holding onto the side of the pool. Now we're floating into the middle. And from an energetic standpoint, we're also living in a time where we have an incredible amount of 5G cell towers. The amount of technological advancements are also causing people's nervous systems to be dysregulated. Mm-hmm. People are having a hard time having coherence within themselves. And it's in itself, that's a mirror to show the spiritual community, hey, we've been doing work for many years, but we've been doing work to cope and soothe, not necessarily expand and ground. Mm. So now we're at a time where we have to kind of course correct. And instead of trying to soothe and cope with the world, we have to ground into a new reality, and we have to expand as the light that we are. And people have to kind of abandon this ingrained pattern of, I need to check things off my list to prove I'm a light being. I need to accomplish all these things to prove that I'm the light. There is no time for that. It is simply time to be the light that you are. And the part of you that says, but not all parts of me are on board. This isn't a democratic vote. You don't need all parts on board. We are simply the light in human form, and there will always be a part of every human being that denies that light, because the light takes on all forms, including the part that denies the light, which is the ultimate irony. The irony of seeing the divine dressed up as a person standing on a soapbox saying there's no such thing as the divine. There could be no better cosmic joke once you know how to get onto the humor.
personally having a bit of a revelation at this end, and I'll just frame it into a question because I've worked with a lot of people one-on-one, and discipline seems to be something that collectively, just because of the vantage that I've got, touch wood, people are struggling with. And what I heard in between the lines from your response actually is, yeah, discipline is evaporating at a time like this, potentially because discipline was previously you trying to prove to yourself that you can be this different way, and that's a different you to the you that's over here, and yet coherence is like being like, there's no more, and it's almost like this is being challenged on purpose for your integrity, really, coherence to emerge. Maybe you guys can speak to us of the importance of coherence. Is that really important at this particular time? I mean, we touched on it with your relationship even, like, you know, and what that sort of did, but is coherence a fundamental thread through this time potentially for us energetically?
I would say so. I would say that coherence has always been really important, but now it's becoming more functionally important because we're now seeing the result of incoherence. So when we talk about coherence, like in the old paradigm, the old bumper sticker was get out of your mind and into your heart. And that sounded really great, right? Boo the mind, abandon the mind, ghost the mind, right? Unfriended on Facebook. Ooh, the heart, it's so great. All right.
It can do no wrong.
Oh, it can do no wrong. Oh, come on now. So, but the reality is that the mind is as obsessive, the mind is as neurotic and judgmental as it is divided from its beloved soulmate, the heart. And the heart is as insecure, as tentative and disempowered and even vengeful as it is separate from its soulmate, the mind. So in coherence, it's actually learning that the mind functions the best connected to the heart, and the heart functions the best connected to the mind. So we need both parts, just in the same way we're not here to hover above the body, hover above the world. We're here to be in the world. Like people will say, you know, be in the world, but not of the world. In 2025, that's a bypass. That's a cop-out. We have to actually be fully in the world because that's actually where the divine is. And so there are a lot of people outside the world thinking they're closer to source. But if you want to be where source is in the most coherent space in existence, which is in the world with the mind and the heart are one. And when we talk about oneness, we always say we're all one. We're all one what? We're all one relationship. And so it's all about the relationship of the mind to the heart, the relationship of the inner to the external, the relationship between the past and the present and the future. It's not about throw this in a trash can and trade up for this. It's about a relationship between what seems like opposites. So in our model, we're looking at relationship. And what we find is if people do not look at something from a relationship standpoint, they're going to perceive it like an object. They think of their guides like objects. They see themselves and treat themselves like a spiritual object. How come my mind won't shut up? You're treating it like an object. Why won't my heart blast open? You're treating it like an object. I went to 5 retreats. How come my Kundalini hasn't done that thing? Treating it like an object. So what we're actually looking at is either you learn to relate from relationship or you treat yourself and others like an object. And those are 2 very different timelines. One is of coherence, one's of incoherence.
And those timelines will only be able to move along them based on our own coherence, because our inability to bring that relationship together within is going to make it even more. The acceleration is going to keep happening, that if we don't have the coherence within, we won't be able to discern what our resonance is out in the world, because the chaos is only going to continue to expand. The lack of integration as these parts of the outer world pull apart even further, we won't be able to discern the path for ourselves. So it's not just integrity here, right? That's going to be so important. But knowing which way to go out here, we won't be able to listen to someone outside of ourselves to determine that.
Hey there, Inspired Evolutionary. If you absolutely loved this, well then here's a full conversation with this guest on the Inspired Evolution podcast. Check it out now.